36-year-old Milind Deora is no traditional politician. It's not caste or religion that are his primary focus, but instead new age issues like RTI, investor confidence, and the need to engage India's middle class. Certainly he makes an unusual politician. At age 7, his mother handed him a guitar. He went on to study business administration from Boston University. But in the end, it was the Deora's political legacy that claimed him. His father Murli shares a friendship with 3 generations of Gandhis, from Indira to Rajiv to now Rahul. And today Milind is one of the few congressmen who shares an informal rapport with Rahul. So let's now talk to this new age face of Congress tomorrow. Hello and welcome to NewsX, Milind Deora. You're a 2-term MP from South Mumbai, but is this the wrong time to be an MP from South Mumbai? It's the financial capital of India, and currently with the rupee plunging to its all-time low. In fact, some people would say rupees turned a senior citizen. Isn't it a bad time to be an MP from there?
No, I think it's a great time, Priya, to be to represent a constituency like South Mumbai, because no constituency in India has the diversity that South Mumbai has. Nowhere else will you find the extremes, both in terms of economic strata, social strata, people living in some of the fanciest apartments in the world, and the urban poor living in shanties. I'm very happy to represent it. I think there's never a bad time for it.
But given the fact that you are from the financial capital, how do you explain the image of India to investors abroad at a time like this?
People across the country in industry, I think they understand that this is a difficult time for India economically, and what I believe is that all of us, and it might sound cliche to say this, but all of us, rather than blaming each other, rather than corporate India saying the government isn't doing enough, or us saying the opposition is creating a shrill rhetoric in our country.
But that's what I was going to come to. How much is the Congress to blame? I mean, you have to, given the fact you've been in power for 9 years, you have a reformist as Prime Minister, yet, you have the rupee plunging so low.
We can't deny the fact that we are a nation that imports a lot of our energy requirements. We can't deny that we are a nation that does not have control over what crude oil prices will be around the world. Having said that, we can perhaps say that we can improve upon our domestic situation. How do we create a healthy debate with industry, with opposition, in terms of what is the way going forward? And I think that is an area where collectively, perhaps we've made some mistakes. We, as in not just the government, but politicians and businessmen together. Please understand that a few years ago, something happened that was unimaginable in India.
Which is what?
Union ministers going to jail, businessmen being questioned by CBI, businessmen going to jail. And this has, I think, shocked the system. And so I think what had happened prior to this happening was there was a very shrill rhetoric in our country. And therefore, I'm not blaming the opposition, but I'm saying politicians also created an atmosphere that was very shrill. It was a very negative atmosphere. In my own ministry in telecommunications and IT, the courts got involved. They completely overturned a certain policy in the 2G spectrum area. Should spectrum be bundled with licenses or should it be auctioned? And these things happened without a debate. So a lot changed. There were a lot of shocks in our system. And I believe now going forward, it's important that we get a discourse in our country that is practical, pragmatic, realistic and honest, frankly, and not just accuse one another that someone is corrupt, someone should go to jail. And that, in my view, will allow us to debate what the core issues of India.
Yeah, but some would argue that in the interest of transparency, this shakedown had to happen, because now at least people will be more careful. There will be less corruption after the 2G scam has come to light.
Well, I think that if there is a scam, nobody is saying that people who are involved in the scam.
Yeah, but some would argue that in the interest of transparency, this shakedown had to happen, because now at least people will be more careful. There will be less corruption after the 2G scam has come to light.
Well, I think that if there is a scam, nobody is saying that people who are involved in the scam should be allowed to go free. If the way the 2G licenses were allotted in the first come first serve policy, if there were violations, by all means, everyone concerned should be punished. But what I'm trying to say is, please understand that you suddenly move from a policy of not auctioning to a policy of auctioning because the court intervened and suggested you should do that.
Correct, yeah.
That didn't happen with much debate. It is important to have debates when you move those, when you discuss those policies, because They have wide-ranging ramifications on industry, on tele-density in our country, and those things sadly were not debated.
So is there a policy paralysis? Are people scared to take decisions? That's what I'm hearing from a lot of bureaucrats, that they're scared to sign anything on the file now.
No, I don't think there's a fear in the system, as much as I think if you talk to businessmen today, what they are concerned about is their consistency of policy. They are afraid that if I invested X amount of rupees today, 5 years later or 10 years later, will that be overturned? Will that be overturned because a new government comes into power? Will that be overturned because someone goes and files a PIL and the court overturns a certain decision? That's a genuine fear, and that's a fear, as I said, we collectively have to address. And it's not just fair to say that the government is to blame. I believe that the BJP, as a principal opposition party in our country, have as much of a responsibility as us in not allowing the debate on at least the economy and on financial matters and on industry to become shrill, and to allow it to be debated in a fair manner that allows the truth to come out so we can move ahead together as a country.
But it's not the BJP, it's the Congress who brought in some of the policies. For instance, that Vodafone retrospective taxation policy, that was your government is to blame.
Well, on policy by policy, as I said, there are certain areas where perhaps one can say that within government also there should be more consistency. Within government also there should be more clarity. I'm not denying that, but I don't think our government is unique in that case. That happens in every government in India, around the world.
But there are divergent views within the Congress. You have the Sonia Gandhi welfare model of economics, which you could say it's bad timing to have a youth food subsidy bill at a time when the rupee is plunging. Then you have the Chidambarams, the Manmohan Singhs, who are known as the reformers in the government. So there is a disparity here also.
I don't think there's any disparity. I think frankly,
well, Sonia's word is final, so I don't think anybody has the guts to disparity.
These issues are issues which you have to credit us with one thing that we do well. We put these issues out into the public domain well before they're brought to Parliament. You can discuss it, debate it, you can say you like it, don't like it, and eventually it's for Parliament to decide upon it. Today it's very easy for the BJP to say, or the opposition parties to say, they may think this is an irresponsible bill or that's an irresponsible piece of legislation. But if you listen to their discussions just a day or 2 days ago in Parliament, or just in the last few weeks, you don't hear them saying that. They're singing a completely different tune.
See, who can oppose a pro-poor legislation?
If you can't oppose it in Parliament, and you can't stand up and be counted in Parliament, then you have no right to do that outside, because that is actually being very populist. At least we are wearing it on our sleeve and saying that we believe that growth and taking people along, both are things that need to coexist. Fine, I can agree that we need to do better in ensuring and sustaining that growth rate. But we are not hypocrites. This is our policy from 2004 to now in both these elections. We fought elections on these issues.
Milind, isn't it ironic you have a reformist prime minister, someone who actually appealed to the middle class in the 91s, but now suddenly you've lost the charm. You're actually appearing as a party that's only pro-poor and not pro-middle class.
Well, frankly, I believe, and not because I'm a member of Parliament elected from South Mumbai, which some jokingly call the Manhattan of India. But I think, the Congress party has a great opportunity to better engage with India's middle class. And I think no other party has core values that actually represent India's middle class. We're a party that implemented RTI way back in 2005. We're a party that created this IT revolution in India that's empowering the middle class, from telecommunications networks to the internet. And I do believe that we as a party have a long way to go in better communicating and better engaging with India's middle class. That's something I've been trying to do for the last 9 years. To some extent, I would say I've succeeded, but I still have a lot more to do in trying to get my party to, of course, focus on rural India, to focus on the urban poor, to focus on the plight and the welfare of farmers, but at the same time bring a large part of their attention towards the aspirations of India's youth, India's job seekers, India's students, and largely India's middle class.
And I'm glad you are admitting this, because the fact is that, look at, some would say Modi is the man who's doing all these things.
No, I don't want to get into what he's doing or not doing, and I think no party in India really has understood and has made it a point and a part of their core program to aggressively engage and consistently engage with India's middle class. And that's something I'm trying to do within the Congress party.
It's an individual effort, it's not...
Well, it's an individual effort. I am trying through, there are many other urban MPs who represent urban areas who understand that this is the future of politics going forward. And we are all trying in our own ways to create a lobby group within our party. And we are getting traction to some extent.
But it's taken 9 years for Rahul Gandhi to address the CII. Why couldn't he have done it earlier? Why couldn't he have woken up? I mean, he thinks that going to engaging Bharat is not all of India. You have to also engage the rest of India.
Well, that's something which in the end is up to him to decide how much he wants to do. But we are trying to pull our leaders, to pull our party, to pull our cadres to understand that India's middle class is not just about urban India's aspirations, it's also about rural India's aspirations. And I think someone like Rahul Gandhi, I remember when he came to Mumbai a few years ago when Shiv Sena and MNS had a self-imposed ban, which they said we will not allow Rahul Gandhi to travel, come to India, to Mumbai. And he came and he travelled by public transportation, he travelled by train, and it had a huge impact. A lot of people hailed him in Mumbai city as urban middle class hero. So I believe he has it in him to do those things. Would I like him to engage as much with India's, again, middle class, with people who are graduating from universities, who are in search of jobs, who are concerned about the rupee, who are concerned about the state of the economy, as much as he's doing with rural India, with farmers, with other welfare schemes like Manrega and other schemes? Of course I would like him to do much more. But that's what democracy is about. Right now urban India represents only 30% of our population. 60-70% of our population comes from rural India. So we are trying, we are a smaller voice in our party compared to people who represent farmers, who represent rural areas. And both are very important. But I am trying in my own way to get the party, to get the government to respond more aggressively, more actively, and to engage with urban India. And I think that is something which will reduce angers in society, because I think people just want to be communicated with. People just want to know what the problems are in society, what are you doing about it, what do you need even us to do about it. If we can even communicate those on a regular basis as a government and as a party, I think we'll manage to calm down tempers, get a healthy debate and move forward as a country.
Need to communicate. That was actually, you preempted my next question, because here we have someone like the BJP's, I have to compare Modi because he is the visible face of the opposition. He is there, he's accessible, he answers questions on the social media, while in the Congress your top three of the leadership don't want to answer questions. Manmohan Singh, Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi are not there. And it's ironic, I mean, Rahul Gandhi's father, as you mentioned, heralded the computer age, and the son doesn't even have a Twitter account where he engages with the people. There is an account managed by his office, which is a one-way communication. This is not the age for that, is it?
Well, look, social media is not everything, firstly.
Well, let him have press conferences, let him talk in parliament.
No, even going to media, to press conferences is not necessarily the only solution.
Okay, parliament speeches.
No, so what I'm saying is, as a party, yes, I agree, we are a party that different leaders had different ways of approaching this. That also depends on the leaders' comfort levels. I would say that there's still scope for improvement. When we did RTI,
you were the one who initiated the debate on
so
RTI.
when I initiated RTI, and when the Congress party and Mrs. Gandhi herself really piloted the passage of RTI into Parliament, 1 year after we came to power in 2004, I do agree there was a way we could have taken it in a more aggressive way to urban India, because it is a middle class issue. RTI is something that the middle class believes is their right, and it is their right to use. Even in the area of IT and telecommunications, we were the ones who created this IT revolution in our country, were laughed at, were mocked. The opposition party at the time said, you know, we want potato chips, not microchips. Those are the slogans going around at the time, and this is what's created a base for young engineers to get employed. And we are, as a party and as a government, perhaps not doing enough.
So now that same young engineer is feeling distance from the Congress. He would rather vote for the BJP.
That's something we're trying to improve. So that's something we're trying to improve. Maybe it's fair to say that we did not engage as much as we should have. Maybe it's fair to say that those who represent rural India in my party had a louder voice than I did. Maybe they were able to get the party to respond to their constituencies better than I was able to do. But we're trying to improve on that. It's a work in progress. We haven't, the book of Congress hasn't ended yet. It's not the last chapter. There's still a long future ahead of us. And I think in the years to come, and in the months,
in a pause, isn't it?
No, I think in the months and years to come, you will see the Congress getting much more responsive in engaging with India's middle class. That's something I can guarantee you.
Okay, but speaking of middle class and speaking of the RTI, again, as I reminded you, that's a bill that you initiated. But now your own government has moved an amendment challenging that same bill. Shouldn't political parties come under RTI first? And secondly, why are you amending a bill that you yourself brought in as one of your trophy schemes?
Well, you know, you're right. I remember initiating that bill in 2000, the debate on the bill in 2005 in Lok Sabha. I spoke for almost 20 to 30 minutes and the videos on YouTube. And I was very proud of that moment for initiating a bill. I was very grateful to my leadership to giving me an opportunity to initiate that bill. There is a strong case for political parties to have their accounts made public, in addition to whatever they file with the Election Commission, with the income tax. And what activists like Shailesh Gandhi and others who I know very well have communicated to me is they've said, you may be right as a government and that political parties should not come under RTI. But we are concerned that don't amend the RTI Act. Because this is like a holy cow, we have great faith in this act, we don't want it to be amended. If you feel that the Chief Information Commissioner's order that parties should come under RTI is wrong, why don't all political parties join together and appeal against that in the courts? It's just a question of optics and semantics.
It's the methodology.
And frankly, the outcome would be the same. And the outcome, I'm not in disagreement with the government or with all political parties. But I am in agreement with RTI activists like Shailesh Gandhi who have represented to me, that perhaps it would have been more prudent, just optically, to leave the RTI Act untouched and appeal the Supreme Court, the Chief Information Commissioner's order in the courts rather than amending the Act. Because I think that gives a different message to the public.
So, Milind, you're also one of the young MPs who are known to be close to Rahul, to be part of Rahul's Camelot. Can you decode him for the rest of us? I mean, this is a right to information that I'm putting before you. What does he stand for? Why is he so reticent to take charge? Is he your candidate for the next elections? Your Prime Minister candidate?
The political part is frankly has been communicated by everyone in the party. You know what the official party line is.
But it's just adding to the confusion.
In terms of my view on his involvement and what you would like or people think he should, how much he should engage, and I frankly believe that when I saw post 26/11 protests, very impromptu protests outside the gateway of India, I realized something had changed then in India, and that was 4 years into my first term, and I realized that urban India now, and specifically the educated middle class, they understand what problems the government faces. They understand sometimes that the problems that are the problems the country is facing may not be in the government's control. But all they ask for is engagement and communication. And I do believe and I do agree that as a party, we are not responding, as a party in power, and I think no party has understood the power of the middle class in terms of the aspirations. But because we're in government, I take responsibility that we have not responded adequately enough to these aspirations. And I think someone like Rahul Gandhi is an urbane politician. He's an urbane individual. His mindset is urbane. So there is definitely, he's someone who thinks like all of us. He understands the problems of young people who are coming out of college and worried about whether they'll get a job. So I do feel there is scope for all our party leaders to engage a lot more with this constituency.
Oh, exactly, because see what happened after 26/11, now that you mentioned, I remember you were out there at night, you were meeting the people, you were on the streets, you were hitting the streets. Same thing could have been done in Delhi when the anti-rape protests hit the streets. There was no Rahul, there was no one.
You know, these are really unfair things. I'll tell you why, because...
Wasn't there a chance that Rahul Gandhi lost that moment?
Why should he politicize? My counter question would be, why should he politicize young people when young people are genuinely angry?
They want to be
and
heard.
They're genuinely on the streets. Yes, you should meet them. He met delegations of young people. If I go there and he went there and he said, I'm with you, people would have said you're politicizing the issue. When Sheila Dikshit as Chief Minister of Delhi went there,
they want to be
and
heard.
They're genuinely on the streets. Yes, you should meet them. He met delegations of young people. If I go there and he went there and he said, I'm with you, people would have said you're politicizing the issue. When Sheila Dikshit as Chief Minister of Delhi went there, people heckled her. So, there are two sides to this always. When there's an unfortunate incident like a terror attack in my constituency, when I go there, liberal commentators say, what is the MP doing there? Why are VIPs going there? It's creating a bigger problem for the hospital. It's not letting the forensic experts do their job. When you don't go there, they say you're not to be seen anywhere. So there's a catch-22 situation in this. It's like, damned if you do and damned if you don't. And I think these things are very personal. It's not that people don't care just because they don't go there. I remember this, and I said this to another channel some time back. I remember just when 26/11 was happening and events were unfolding before us. I remember he was calling me as a local member of parliament several times in those 3 days and telling me about what he's doing with regards to speaking to the Home Minister of the country, to the Prime Minister, to the Congress Party President, to the Chief Minister, what I should be doing as an MP. Now, that to me is a sign that he cares as a leader. That to me is a sign that he doesn't want to score brownie points by saying there's a tragedy in a particular area, there's a flood in a particular area, there's a terror incident in a particular area, I'm going to come there and politicize it. Because those are very easy things to do in India.
But Milind, leadership is also about perception. You have to be seen to be leading. Fine, I take your point.
So I agree with your point that there is a need to have consistent communication. Consistent communication is very different from rhetorical communication, which unfortunately people like Narendra Modi do. When the Uttarakhand tragedy happened, we saw what he did. It was frankly quite silly. And even BJP people that I know said he shouldn't have done that. It reflects poorly on him trying to politicize the issue.
Finally, to your ministry, Milind, you're the Minister for Information and Technology. That's a new age ministry, and also ports, but I'm more interested in the first ministry. We've had this incidents of snooping where US officials have been accused of snooping onto Indian embassies. What is the Indian government doing to prevent such incidents?
Well, what happened with regards to whatever media reports we saw in the PRISM policy of the United States, where they allegedly snooped on not just India but many other countries. This is something that the Indian government has taken up at the highest levels. It was taken up when John Kerry, who's the Secretary of State, when he visited India. But there's one way of doing things by diplomatically engaging, expressing your concern, but you have to build as a country capabilities to prevent these things from happening. And we just launched in the Ministry of Communications and IT, just launched a few months ago, India's first ever national cyber security policy. And this is really a vision document which also has specifics in it, which will allow us to protect sovereign data, individual privacy of citizens, corporate data, to prevent not only foreign governments, rogue agencies from snooping on our data, but even to build institutional frameworks that today Milind Deora and Dr. Manmohan Singh are sitting on the chair of this ministry and Prime Minister. Tomorrow it could be someone else. The other person may not like a journalist having a negative story on that person. They may say, I want to snoop on that person. So we are even trying to build those institutional safeguards, frameworks, which are agnostic of which party, which individual is in power. Because the United States, in some ways, has an effective policy in place. They have a FISA law, which if the United States government wants to intercept an individual's, American citizen's data, an email, a mobile conversation, they have to go to court, and it's like a warrant.
This is reassuring coming from the party that proclaimed emergency.
Well, these are things, unfortunately, even if you talk about 66A, these are, we got unnecessarily flack for this. These were ridiculous. I mean, people said we're trying to censor content. We're building an army of people to censor content. I mean, I'm the minister and I can assure people that we don't even have a plan like that. So these are ridiculous.
Despite your senior minister's strong statements pro-censorship.
He's never said anything to say pro-censorship. All we have done in our country.
He went against the Facebook and...
listen, nobody has gone against anyone. If we wanted to censor content, we wouldn't be making policies alongside that to encourage internet penetration. We wouldn't be having policies to encourage teledensity. We would be trying to curb and reduce that. So it's a bizarre argument to start with. We have only created with 66A in the IT Act a provision that exists in the offline space should exist in the online space, and a provision that every country in the world has to regulate their online space. We are in no mood, have no intention whatsoever to decide whether this content A is bad or good. that is for an aggrieved party to decide. We have only provided a legal framework for that aggrieved party to take action against someone who they feel has slandered them or said something which is inaccurate.
Okay, finally a bit, we're running out of time, but I have to ask you a bit about you personally, because, I know that despite being an MP, you also are very fond of playing the guitar, you're fond of music. Do you find time for all that?
Well, when I was an MP, I did find, I did manage to find time. I don't think you find time. You have to make the time, really. And I managed to make the time. And
you've been playing at concerts also?
Well, I had a band when I was a member of parliament, and until the day I became a minister, I had a band which was called Tightrope, a nice blues band which I was very, very proud of, and I still am. And we played a few shows in different cities in India. Unfortunately, when I became a minister, things changed. But I do manage to find time to occasionally pick up my guitar. My strings are a bit rusty, so that gives you an idea of how often I play. But music is still a big part of my life, so even if I can't play an instrument or play with a band, I will always have music around me because that's my meditation and that's my salvation, frankly.
Your wife Pooja Shetty is in the entertainment business. She's made that very good movie Tere Bin Laden. Has she been trying to rope you into acting? Are you tempted?
No, not at all. She knows I'm quite unaware of films. I'm someone who loves music, but sadly I never got into films, and I only know the classic films from the Indian film industry and globally. I'm not someone who really says there's new movies out, let's go to the theatre and watch it. I'm more of somebody who's geeky about a new music album, a new band. That's something that excites me. So unfortunately we don't have much in common in the entertainment sphere, because she doesn't really care much for music, she cares only about films. But occasionally we do manage to sort of cross paths. If there's a good film with a good music score, then I can get her to listen to that, she can get me to watch that film.
So you're keeping all the drama for your political life, I can see.
Well, I try and reduce the drama in politics. I'm not so much of a drama politician also. I think, I frankly believe that people like me who actually want to do the politics of development, debate, not the politics of caste or religion and those traditional issues which have been going on for 70 years since our independence. It's unfortunate because people like us feel a little out of place sometimes. We feel we don't belong to the traditional political community who are only focused on those issues. So I'm one who believes that if we can move and fight elections on development, on really core social issues, on really core economic issues, on really core foreign policy issues, I think that's how India will really move forward. And I think eventually voters also from South Mumbai to rural India have to begin to reward and punish their representatives who digress on these silly issues and issues that don't really matter. And they have to reward those politicians who want to focus on issues that really matter, because those are the issues that are going to give them employment, those are the issues that are going to protect their livelihoods.
And I think that is happening. We are seeing a lot of chief ministers who are doing good work coming back again. It's not just caste that is.
I think it's beginning to happen. I think it's beginning to happen, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. It's refreshing to talk to a new age politician who's actually trying to change the lexicon of grammar, of political grammar.
Thank you, Priya.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.